Hi, everyone. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth, peace to people of goodwill. My name's Kevin Gregg. I'm here with Patrick Quinn. Say hi, Patrick.
Hi, guys.
Hi. Glad to have you on the show. If you're watching this, we're not doing a live stream. It's a recorded interview. This is Patrick's fourth visit to the show, which is amazing. We've been having an ongoing conversation with him. Patrick, give those people that may not be familiar with who you are and what you do, just give them a quick recap of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Patrick Quinn, and I'm a live performer. I've been performing. Oh boy, I'm a live performer, and I've been performing for over 10 years professionally now. Oh no, almost 10 years professionally now.
Right.
Sorry.
You can claim it as 10. You could. I'm going to give you permission right now. Just say a flat 10, right?
I like it.
Because you wouldn't want to go in and say like, how long have you been performing? Well, like 9.25 years. It's like, no, man, you're at the 10 mark, so you're good.
I'm this many.
Right.
Yeah. So I've been performing for 10 years, doing mostly live productions, working in theme parks and live tours and shows. And more recently, like the last 3 or 4 years, I've been doing more film stuff. And just super recently, I've been working on my voiceover materials and yeah, trying to take Kevin's advice and get a little bit independent with my my own art, you know?
Yeah. Super happy with you. Patrick reached out to me a couple of months ago as I was doing the show. You know, obviously here on the show, we reflect, rebuild, refresh, reinvent your life according to what God's calling is. And Patrick reached out to me like saying, how do I do this? We had, if you have not seen any of the past episodes that we've done with Patrick, please go back and take a look and you can sort of see this progressive journey. Now, the last time that we met, we were leaving. And at that point, Patrick had a very precious book that he is, I don't know, I'm sure you're still reading. It sounds like it was a massive novel, right? You're still reading it, right? And I had proposed a bet to him where I said, listen, man, we're going to challenge you to do some stuff. And if you don't do it, you're going to have to put that book into the mail and you're going to have to send it to me, right? And I did the same thing where I said, there's some stuff that I need to get done. Where if I didn't get done by the next time that we met, I was going to have to pay him $50. So Patrick, are you putting that book in the mail today?
It's mine. I get to keep it. I did what I needed to do.
Congratulations. Refresh. What is it that you needed to do? And then after you tell us what you need, well, tell us what you need to do first.
Yeah. So the challenges set were produce 4 more of my little voiceover, just little sound clips that are just what did you call it?
It's like proof. It's like proof, sweat equity or proof of concept, right?
Yes. Yeah. And just little clips that just show what I can do with my voice that I can then move forward and use. And I've started using those in the second part of the challenge. So I was supposed to make 4 of those little clips. Right. And then the second part of the challenge was to create a Fiverr and an Upwork profile or another one. I forget if you gave me the leeway to do another one, but I did exactly what we did. And yeah, I was able to, because I had been recording those and because I recorded the new ones with my new setup, that's all finished now.
Great.
When I started, it wasn't finished. Now it's finished and I've been recording in my little booth. Yeah. And it's very exciting. So I was able to use very crisp sound for it and upload those to my Fiverr and my Upwork profiles. And now it looks halfway professional. It's pretty great.
I'm telling you, man, we're living in a different age. I mean, I've talked about this before. To try and get this same type of stuff done, even as recently as like 15 years ago, or maybe 20 years ago, it's like, it would have taken a lot more hustle, especially in the late 90s. I mean, you'd have to be getting like, not even digital recording. You'd be getting like, high quality, not reel to reel, but it'd be like high quality tape. Like it'd be a pain in the butt, man. Yeah. I remember having to put together a video reel for myself when you still had to like actually go to an editor. You still had to like try to get like not even they wanted you to try and get like beta tapes, not VHS tapes, like beta tapes, which are just like very, very professional quality. But it's like you'd have to try to get the beta tapes. And I remember once, man, I had to pay an editor like $300 to put together my reel. Like it was just like trying to make
Yeah.
markings and logs, and oh my gosh. And we're doing this stuff. And like within like, 2 weeks of when we've talked, you've put together these samples of this stuff.
Yeah,
How how
it's
how was
crazy.
how was the process for you as you were putting this stuff together?
Oh boy. Well, so my what's the word? My procrastination
Mm,
kicked in hard. I started out and I made my Upwork profile like the next day,
mhm.
like right away. And then I made I think the first 3 recordings in rapid succession right at the beginning. And then those last 2, I'll be honest with you, didn't happen until yesterday. I was like, no, I gotta make this happen. I'm like,
That's
come
all
on.
right.
Like, yeah.
That's all right.
But it's crazy. I did the majority of the work right up front, and I'm like, oh, good, I'm there. And then I kept going. All right, well, I'll do it today. And then things came up. Oh, okay, I'll do it. And I got it the last day before the due date, but it came in.
And
And
by the way, you've
yeah,
literally just described my freelance writing assignments. Like you
really,
just described that. Where you go, oh yeah, I'll do a little bit. I got some time. Got some time, and it's just like, oh, right,
uh,
trying to get the stuff done. So
knock it out then. Yeah, the last one, the last recording I did is a goofy, different take from what I've done in the past with
mhm.
them. And that's kind of a fun thing with them as well. Is each new time I record it, I add some new feature to it. I'm trying to experiment with the tools that I have available to me.
Great.
And so, like, if you remember Belly, the first one is just a straight up recording of a character I'd already come up with. And then the next one was the little bird. And that was somebody sent that to me. So I recorded that one. And I challenged myself. I was going to speak at as fast a clear rate I could. I think I got close to 200 words in about 30 seconds. And I was very proud of myself. I haven't actually looked up speeds or anything, if that's actually impressive or if that's like just normally people speak at 180 per 30 seconds. I don't know. Um, and then the next one after that, I spoke in Spanish. And
Oh,
then
cool.
like, so it's like each time I'm trying something new. And with
Good.
these new ones, I've been adding little video effects because I realized this is just a little thing for Instagram. People are less likely to look at it if it's just a still picture and it's got the little speaker like buried in it.
Right.
And so like I assume nobody's going to click on it to turn on the sound
Yes.
if it's just a picture sitting there. So I was like, okay, I'll add a moving effect in the beginning just so they see,
Good.
oh, it's a moving picture. Maybe I'll click
Nice.
on it.
Nice.
And
Oh,
then I put on like a breaking news symbol in one of them, did it very tongue in cheek. Because a friend sent just a picture of himself as his goofy picture he wanted me to do. And that
right.
felt weird doing a real person instead of a cartoon. And so I added all these effects so it felt less like I was making fun of him.
Oh,
Uh,
get it.
and then a friend sent me a series of pictures of her cat.
Yes.
And she's like, can you do this? And so I tried to put them together so it looks like the cat is talking through the different pictures.
That's great.
And then the last one, I just videoed myself. And the plan was to video myself and pick a picture for the main screen with a little thumbnail of me in the corner.
Right.
And I ended up just posting the video of me because I thought it was a little funnier.
Yeah.
And it's just a fake ad for adult diapers.
Good.
Um,
Good.
and I'm a real life cowboy.
Good. I'm super, super happy, man. I'm glad that you
Yeah.
did this stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's Patrick. I mean, even though you're dashing to the end to get the stuff, like you're physically like showing up. What are all these exercises about, right? These exercises are about like doing what are the little things I can do that's within my control
Mhm.
and that I can I love the idea that you're actually like you're practicing. Like you're not only practicing, but then you're kind of like figuring it out as you go. Where you just
Yeah.
going, oh, okay, let me see what I can do. Let me see what effects I can do. Thinking marketing wise, which is interesting because I've got a guy that's coming up on I think the show after this, a friend of mine, Matisse, who's from Slovenia. We're going to be
Ooh,
talking a little bit more about business aspects
look forward
and
to
also
listening to it.
yeah, and also inviting in our and also how do we mesh that also with our Christianity with our belief as well.
Yeah.
But here you are experimenting and like thinking marketing wise, thinking social media marketing wise, where you're going, oh yeah, somebody's just going to scroll through it if they just see it's a picture. But if they see there's a moving aspect of it and they think it's like, oh, it's a video and I've got to click on it for the sound, great. Like you're thinking outside the box, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
How is it? And I say this not because I'm a sponsor, they're a sponsor or anything like that.
Uh-huh.
Um, so how did you, because I've been pointing other people towards these type of websites, like going,
Yeah.
you have some say and control in terms of your marketability for your skills and actually making some cash for this stuff. So how's the experience been on the Upwork side for you? What are you
Yeah.
thinking, and what's your first I'd love to hear it. Like what's your take on it as you're going on there?
Yeah. So yeah, with both Upwork and Fiverr, it's interesting. Upwork I have more experience with, because obviously I did it at the beginning. And yeah, it was kind of interesting, and it helped me learn to build a profile because I had to nail certain things down. Then in the past, I'm just like, oh, I'll deal with that when the situation comes up, and then realizing, wow, that comes across very unprofessional, just having like it'll work itself out, you know.
Right, right,
um,
right.
and setting a price for my services, and it's like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, I need to think about what are my services, and then do I charge on the finished product, do I charge per word, do I charge per page, per hour of my work, and just all these, like that was a big decision for me. And I
It's
decided,
interesting, right? It's like
yeah,
it's like you're trying to figure out what your value is. And
yeah.
and here's the interesting thing. It's not like you're excuse me, you'll occasionally hear my dog who decided to hang out here with me. Um, but you have the experience and the talent and skills, right? Like you've been doing this profession at some level. It's just
Mhm.
that you're pivoting a little bit and you're transferring all of those skills. And granted, there's other people that have been out there that have been just specifically focused on, for example, like voiceover work. That's what they've been doing. Well,
Yeah.
guess what? You've been doing vocal performance and all of this other stuff for a long time. Now,
Mhm.
what you're also doing is that you're bringing those skills and those abilities out into the marketplace and saying, oh, yeah, listen, these skills and abilities and these talents I've been using, they actually do pour over into this. Now, listen, I'm not going to be at a top where, you're paying me $100 an hour as a voiceover artist, but let me do proof of concept for you. Let me show you what I can do because there are businesses and other things. There's my coffee maker in the background. Guys, this is the thing that happens I'm in a new atmosphere right here. I'm not in the
Uh-huh.
normal room that I broadcast from because I may need to make some changes in the future. We have my mother-in-law is going to be moving in with us, and that room is going to be one of the rooms she shares. So anyway,
Yeah.
sorry. You will hear you'll hear a dog barking occasionally, a coffee maker going off. You might even hear a car rumbling by in front. But what are you gonna
Awesome.
do? It's this it's just trying to show to these, because there's businesses that are out there, like there's people that say, I need somebody doing some voiceover work with a great voice and I don't know what to do. And these are people that, they may not have incredible budgets, right? Like
Yeah.
they're just looking to get somebody to do a really solid job for them, but they can't pay the guy that's $100 an hour, right?
Yeah.
But they're also trying to look for talented people that are out there. And when you're coming into the market, listen, it's okay if you're starting off in the beginning and you're doing a couple of like really quick, cheap jobs. Like it's going to
Yeah.
happen, right?
Yeah.
Like you're going to have things where people are going to pay you 5, 10, 15, 25 bucks for a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, okay, that's the stuff that I'm doing to show proof that I can do this, and then build up my credibility, get those either great reviews or positive responses from the people I've worked with. So it now becomes proof of concept to other people
Yeah.
that have a little bit more money and that can pay for it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And yeah, so posting on there, I definitely went with, like you were saying, I went with the uh I baited the hook a little bit with a cheaper price on Upwork to start with, because I figure I want to just get hired for jobs, and I don't mind if I'm not making a profit on it or whatever, or a big profit on it in the beginning. I want to just get jobs, get it out there, get them done, see what people are looking for. Yeah.
Please keep us posted on that. Like, I really want to see, like, I'd be very happy to see the progression of what happens, you know?
Yeah. Well, something that kind of was interesting that happened was I made the Upwork profile, and I've submitted for a couple things. I went for an audiobook, and boy, that gave me this whole new, like, just like you in your living room, gives me this whole new idea of, okay, well, now I need to consider this other stuff. So I wear retainers sometimes. And I tried recording the audiobook. I'm supposed to wear the retainers most of the day, and it's relatively new, and it's only going to be for a couple months, and then they're gone. And while I was reading the audiobook, I realized it was hard for me to not put a little lisp that normally I don't think people notice in everyday life, but when I'm recording in the thing, I can hear it loud and clear. I'm like, oh wow, when I'm that close to a mic, it really picks up that just slight lisp. And it's hard to slow it down and clarify it without sounding like I'm trying way too hard on a recording. And so anyways, that was a fascinating thing to me that I hadn't considered yet. And recording for the audiobook, they wanted to just have a page, and there's just so many different aspects of the performance that I hadn't considered before. And I'm like, okay, well, in this audition, if I really want to nail it for a finished product, I could break it down, read all the narration bits, and then read all the lines, and then edit them into the narration so that I have the character solidified. So the character is always speaking the same way, you know, but break it down like that, like, and a little bit overwhelming, but I want to, I'm working on it.
Of course.
And then another kind of neat thing that came out of this, which is interesting because it's just building the Upwork profile, sort of it almost reminds me of like a dog. Like if you have like a well-trained dog and you've got the fence, and normally the gate's closed and the dog knows not to go out the gate. Even if you open the gate, the dog doesn't go out until he's invited out. And it's like the gate was opened with Upwork, and I'm looking out there and I'm like, wow, look at all the world out there. And I go, wait a minute, I can step out there. and so I ended up actually, my wife loves Adventure and Odyssey. We both grew up listening to it. And so occasionally, you know, if we're having trouble sleeping, we'll just put that on just to have some nice wholesome noise in the background, and you just fall asleep, and it's nice. And then I went, like, just like after working on my Upwork profile, I woke up in the middle of the night. I'm like, wait a minute, I could do that.
Well, now wait a second. So tell me the specific. Did you say Adventure and Odyssey?
Adventures in Odyssey. Have you ever heard of it? It's
please tell me this. I am not familiar with this at all.
Oh yeah, it's this great. Oh boy, I think his name is Thomas Whitaker. It's Focus on the Family. Have you heard of Focus on the Family?
Okay, yeah. No, I've never heard of this. Yeah, I mean, I know Focus on the Family, but I don't know this Adventures in Odyssey. So go ahead.
So they put out these audio dramas. I believe it used to be on the radio, was the original way that they were produced.
Yes.
And now they're on, like, we got them on CD and cassette and stuff.
Okay.
And you can go online. They're still making new stuff today. I didn't think they were still making new stuff. And then I realized, because I was just on the website, I was just like sort of half asleep putting it on so we could fall asleep more easily. And I was like, that's dated 2021. They're still making these. And I was like, yeah. And it's just like old fashioned radio dramas, but
yes.
Yeah. And it's like, what? And so I emailed them and I said, hey, I'm interested. I'd love to do, you know, work that glorifies God, and it's hard to find it out here in LA. I know you guys are based in such and so. Based off their website, it looked like they were elsewhere.
Yeah.
I was like, but if you ever need anything, I just recently built a sound booth. I can send you some stuff and see if it's what you're looking for. If you'd like to hear my reel or whatever. I sent just, you know, the whole email, the pitch, and they sent it back, and they're like, yeah, well, unfortunately, we usually have people record in Burbank, California, so I don't know if that's too far for you to travel. And I'm like, say what?
just right down the street, basically from
Yes,
you.
yes.
It's like a stone's throw, right?
So I'm like, oh, this is so exciting. And so that's still ongoing. But because of opening the door with Upwork, that
Yes.
became a possibility, you know?
Well, I, Patrick, I just had the oddest. Your wife's gonna hate me. She's gonna go, "What is he saying? What's he doing?"
Uh-huh.
But
She can't hear you yet. Don't worry.
well, don't worry. She'll see it on the thing. She'll say, "What's he saying?" Boy, that also made me think. Like, listen, I know that the main reason I'm pointing you towards things like Upwork and Fiverr is, and we talked
Mhm,
about this on the last episode, which is like
mhm.
when you're out there and the little bit that you're trying to do, trying to just bring in a little bit of money, like it's
Yeah.
proof of concept, right? It's the
Yeah.
thing that you're doing of like saying, I'm going out there, I'm trying, I'm doing. And one of the things I talked about is like, if you're figuring out a way to bring in like $100 a day or something like
Mhm.
that, like that's a good sign. Like you're on a right path and you're doing this thing. Now, the thing that popped up in my mind, which your
No.
wife's going to say, what is he saying? I'm wondering if there's any way that you could, and again, I'm speaking out of turn. I have no idea. If somebody has some other ideas on this, please share them in the comment section of this. Or if you happen to be with Focus on the Family or enjoy this stuff, and take a look at these other interviews I've done here with Patrick and hire this guy, will you? Um,
Woo.
I'm wondering if there's any way that you can like intern with them. And I'm not even talking like literally like not even
Yeah.
doing the vocal recording thing of
Yeah.
just like there's a great I'm going to go off on a complete tangent.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Kristofferson, who is the country music, he's just an amazing singer and songwriter and all this stuff. Several months ago, I watched the documentary. It was Ken Burns' documentary that was about country music, and the Kris
Mm.
Kristofferson segment was so like I didn't know. I mean, I knew about Kris Kristofferson like growing up and listening to him, and he was in A Star Is Born with Barbara Streisand, and I knew that he was popular and had a couple of hits.
Yeah.
Kris Kristofferson um, was like I'm going to get this completely wrong. So somebody's going to go wrong in the comments. But he was like, he was uh, he was like in like the Naval Academy or something like that. Like this was a guy that was like really incredible. I think that he went to, I feel like he went to West Point. Like he was a really smart, intelligent guy, and it looked like he was going on a direction of going into a military career and to do a whole bunch of stuff. He ended up going to see Johnny Cash. This is
Mhm.
probably in the 60s that he might have seen him. He went to go see Johnny Cash, and as he sees Johnny Cash, he just goes, "That's what I want to do with my life. Like
Hmm.
that's what I want to do." And he was like fully set up, like a really intelligent guy, high markings in his class. It looked like he was going a specific direction. He ended up leaving that entire career and he said, I'm moving to Nashville. I'm going to go move to Nashville and I'm going to become a singer songwriter. Right.
Hmm.
And to the point that his parents and family, like they disowned him. Like they disowned him.
Wow.
They said, what are you doing with your life? You're throwing it away.
Hmm.
Kris Kristofferson hung around in Nashville, and Nashville was like filled with people that are like, singer songwriters. Like Willie Nelson couldn't get a break in Nashville. Like Willie Nelson, like worked there and did some stuff, but like he never had his breakout. He had to
Yeah.
end up going back to Austin before stuff happened. Kris Kristofferson ended up just like hanging out at certain studios, music studios, and he was just like a janitor. Like he just mopped the floor and he just did stuff just so that he was around these people on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And after being around these people for a while, like literally about 2 or 3 years of doing this stuff, that because he was in just the orbit of these people, he started making conversations with people and just breaking into the stuff. And this was a guy who's like really, I mean, so honored and revered by his fellow singers and songwriters. But he was relatively older when he was doing this. you know. There's actually
Wow.
a very funny there's actually a very funny story where he'd been hanging around the studios and do this stuff, and he gets this letter from his mom, and it's brutal. Like, it's brutal. The letter from his mom is just like, what have you done? You're a disappointment to us. You know,
Oh,
it's basically a letter that's disowning him because of the
yeah.
decisions that he's made. And he's hanging around. He ends up meeting Johnny. Johnny Cash is hanging around, and he ends up sharing the letter with Johnny Cash. And Johnny Cash just says, "It's nice to hear from home, isn't
Oh.
it?" So, anyway, here's my point with that.
Optimistic.
Here's my point with that long-winded story.
Yeah.
Somebody like Kristofferson, who ended up just becoming a superstar in
Mhm.
the singer-songwriter scene, um, was mopping floors just to be around and be in the orbit of this stuff.
I like it.
So I'm not saying that that's what you're going to. This is the part where your wife says, "Don't ever get on another call with him today." Uh, but is there?
Mysteriously cancel next week.
It'd be so interesting if there was any way that you could say, "Hey, is there any way that I can be of service to your performers or your people that are around there, or anything that I can do to help?" Like,
Yeah.
to just be even just around it, to just
In the
support the
room.
work. Like we just, my wife and I have listened to you guys for years, and we want to do this. And if there's any way that I can learn, if there's any way that can be a service, and just saying, I'm more than happy to be available to your performers in that area.
Mhm.
I'll come out for 4 hours a week or whatever to do the stuff. And if you guys need people to go out and get you coffee or stuff, to be your gopher and to go get that stuff, I will be
Yeah.
your guy. Like, I'll basically be. Is there any way that I can intern with you guys?
Mhm.
And just to say, again, with this idea of like, this isn't about kissing butt at all.
Yeah.
The idea with this is to go, I just want to be, if I'm just around it and see how you guys do it. And if there's a way that I can be of service to you guys, just so that I can because basically what you're saying is, you're saying, you got me. I'll give you some part-time hours. I'll give you 4 or 5 hours a week or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Use me whatever way you want to. I'm just hoping that I can soak up some of this information. Uh,
Yeah.
just a thought. Don't have any ideas. Maybe that's something that you send back. I mean, obviously somebody responded to you, you know?
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Very
a
encouraging.
great sign. And to just say, listen, I'm so, and this is not a kissing butt thing, but like, I just want to learn and to do that stuff. And is there any way that I could be of service to you guys when you're doing recording? If so, let me know. I'd be more than happy to be a gopher for your performers or your producers or your audio engineers on that day, just to be around them. And what are you doing? You're actually
Yeah.
doing physical work, but you're also getting to be in the room of the people and see how the stuff does. So it ends up becoming like an actual, like, it's an apprentice, right? It's like
Mhm.
you get to apprentice and see how that stuff goes. You get to
Yeah.
see how they record the stuff. What are the best techniques? I'm just telling you, man. Just a thought.
I love that. No, that sounds like a great idea. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna bark up that tree.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll have
Yeah.
we'll have some new your book is still in jeopardy, buddy. Your book
Oh
is still
no.
in.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
I
because
start reading.
by the end of this call, your book
uh,
is going to be in more jeopardy. So that's all I
man,
can
I
say.
gotta find something else more
More
valuable to me than
valuable.
the book.
Are you kidding? Like, the way that you react with this thing, like, every week. I just Doug Riggle, who's one of the Doug Riggle, who listens to this, who I've been working with on projects, he gets such a kick, like, seeing like your visceral reaction to, to to losing that book. It's so
Such a
funny,
good
man.
book. It's such a good book. I was saying more valuable than the book. My wife walks by. She goes, I go, no.
Well, yes, your wife is more valuable. I don't, unfortunately, it has to be something that you're doing. right?
Yes, yeah.
I'd end up putting her to work to help out with my son and my business stuff that's here. But well, that's
Perfect.
right. You're off the hook. Oh my gosh. I did that to my wife once, which was just awful. There was a theater company that was starting up with a mutual friend of ours, and I couldn't do it. I basically offered up my wife and said, she can do it. Oh, it was hard. It was hard because we're up in Studio City. The theater was down Long Beach. Oh my gosh, it was such
Yeah.
a God bless her. She just said, you basically used me as a token. Like I went, yeah, I did. I'm sorry. I'll never do that again. Um, great. So you've been doing the stuff, you've been putting
Yeah.
the Upwork stuff out there. That's
Yeah.
amazing that you've had this idea that sparked uh about the
Focus on the
Adventure
family.
Odyssey. Is that what it is?
Adventures in Odyssey.
Adventures in Odyssey. I love this. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what else is going on? What else is going on with you? How do you feel? Anything else that's sort of coming
Yeah.
up on your mind and your heart?
Yeah, feeling great. So my wife and I are actually, we got good news about the show that we used to travel with. Looks like we'll be back in very shortly. I don't want to give too
Great.
much information in case I'm not
Great.
supposed to share it.
No.
But yeah, so we're kind of training full time.
Amazing.
So we're going in and ice skating every day,
Great.
like 5 days a week. Every other day, we go into a parkour gym that I love around here.
Yeah.
Shout out Firestorm. They've got like all sorts of different things that you can train there. And so we're training just a little bit of everything.
Great.
And while we were doing our show, we used to have a circus trainer, and he had his famous workout that was just intense. Basically, the goal of the exercise is you do your maximum of whatever workout he tells you to do. And he looks at you and decides what you need to work out. You do your maximum, as many as you can, and he pushes you. He's aggressive. He's like, go, more. You got one more. Keep going. And then he takes note of all that, and then he calculates. I believe it's typically about 75% of your maximum, and then your job is to do that 4 sets every other day, essentially forever. You don't take weekends off. You literally just do every other day.
Okay.
And boy, when we were doing it, I had the biggest calluses on my hands I've ever had in my life. They were legitimately like 1/4 of an inch thick calluses. And I was scared it was just going to rip my whole hand off when they finally came off. But anyhow, so we're gently working up to that. Because I'm sure he'll put us right back on our workout program when we get there. So I'm trying to toughen up our hands ahead of time. Janusz, if you're listening, I'm doing it. Thumbs around, buddy.
Were you always a physical kid? Was that your thing growing up?
That's an interesting question. Sort of. I was always interested in physical things, but I'm also very cautious, which is has been a help and a hindrance in the stunt shows that I've worked on.
Of course.
So for instance, like the I think I mentioned before, I can do a backflip, but the problem is every time I go to do it in the gym, because I don't do it off of the padded floor, just because it's not worth the risk unless I was being paid a lot, and then I'd train it up and get back to it. But every time I go in, I'm like, all right, I could do a backflip, and I go to do it and I psych myself out. And it's to the point where I need to do a whole workshop to get myself back to a backflip before I can do it even the first time that I'm back. If I did it yesterday and I come back today, I have to work myself up to it, and I'll freak myself out and almost fall on my head, even though I know how to do it. It's just, So anyway, so I'm very cautious, and I take it slow with a lot of these things. And I work on the small muscles. It's a habit I got from one of my early shows doing jumping stilts. So he's a little bit silly, but you can't skip the butt exercises. You gotta, the little clamshells and stuff, and like the little muscles in your butt will save your knees and your lower back. I always tell my dad this because he has low back stuff, and so I show him the workouts they gave me, and it makes such a difference. And I work with these guys who will just get injured doing all this stuff, and they're like, "Why don't you try this? Do this." I'm like, I don't think I'm ready for that. Or like they'll injure themselves because they're like, "Oh, you don't have to do the maintenance on your butt. Like, do your big muscle groups; they'll save you." I'm like, no.
Yeah.
So, anyways, all that to say, I was I aspired to be a physical kid.
Right.
I did physical things, but it was always embedded by my mom. If you like climbing a tree, I always wanted to climb the tree. I wanted to get up there with my siblings and like sit on the top branches. And I'm like, Mom, can you help me up in the tree? She's like, no, if you can't get in the tree by yourself, you can't get out of the tree by yourself. So I'm not putting you up there until you
Wow,
can do
what
it.
a great lesson from your mom, right?
Yeah, yeah. I love that lesson, and I think about it a lot. I'm like, if I can't get myself into a position or out of a position, I don't really have business being in that position yet.
Right on. Good for you,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Nice.
Um,
Now I think about that. I had there's a couple of things that just came to mind. I did I I trained for a stuntman for one whole day.
yeah.
I was over at Knott's Berry Farm.
uh-huh.
I've been doing like one of the Dakota Dan shows or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And somebody had said, "Oh my gosh, you'd be perfect. You'd be great in our stunt show that we have over there."
Uh-huh.
And I remember I went to go train. We started out the day. They said, "Great, we're going to hire you." And I remember I started out training, and I was working with doing the stretches and the tumbles and the rolls, and we are doing all
Yeah.
that stuff. And I remember we started out the day. I went, "This is great, fantastic." And I remember we went through our first whole bunch of routines and stuff. And I went, "Great." And I like looked up at the clock. I think we started at like 9 or something like that. And I thought
Mm-hmm.
we'd done all this work. And I was like, okay, it's great. What a great session. And I
Uh-huh.
looked up at the clock and it was just 9:45. And I still had to go until like 6 o'clock that day. I was like, oh my
Like,
gosh, this is like a
oh
lot.
no.
So we
Uh-huh.
ended up going through a whole bunch of stuff and doing all the things. And here was the deciding thing that happened to me. It was we
Mm-hmm.
went across at that time at Knott's Berry Farm that you go across the street. They had a couple of um, like mats that were set up. They had sort of like a rig that was they put together like scaffolding, so they had things so that you could train, and they wanted me to start learning how to do the fireman's fall, right, which is basically like you go and then you flip over and basically line your. So I go like this, or a header, right? It's just like
Yeah.
you kind of go over and then you land on your back.
Uh-huh.
And so the idea is like as you're going, the rotation happens, and then you land on the mat in your back.
Yeah.
So we started like 3 feet or whatever it is. You're basically 3 feet off the ground, and you're practicing falling into this thing,
Uh-huh.
and you're kind of getting used to it. And of course, where your feet are, that's 3 feet off the ground, and where your feet is, that's I'm 6 foot tall, so it's like you're kind of going, oh yeah, it's I'm going from 3 feet, but it looks taller.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're doing it. And I'm learning how to do it, and the guy gets me up to about 6 feet,
Mm-hmm.
and then I remember we've been doing it for about an hour working on this, and I remember I go over for my last one, and as I'm in the air, I hear him go no, and I land upside down on my like basically on my neck upside down, and just like a crumpled C,
Yeah.
and just go, and I felt it. And he like runs, are you okay? Like running over like that. I said, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Like I just like, I got super stiff, but I remember in that moment, I just went, nope, not worth it. It was just
Not
that
worth it.
moment of
Yeah.
like, I had that moment, that experience that happened, and I went, nope, definitely not worth it because, again, no knock on them, but they weren't paying fantastic. I mean, it was just like, here you go. Here's a thing that you do. And they'd had a tragedy that had happened like a couple of years ago with one of their stuntmen. And it was just like, whew, it's just bad. And I was just at that moment where I said, no, I'm fine. And I finished out the day. We even did like, walk arounds with guns and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and did a little bit, but like in the back of my mind, I went, I am out. I'm not coming back to this.
Yeah.
That was it for me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Takes a certain caliber, right? And I'm sure that you've met them over the years where there's certain people that are just like, come on, bro.
I've got a friend who was so helpful in my early career for just getting me out there and auditioning for new things that I didn't think I had the capabilities for
Mhm.
or the qualifications for, whatever you want to say. And I love the guy, Josh. We were audition buddies for a long time, where like I'd drive in places and we push each other to go to different auditions. It was awesome. And he and I are just about polar opposites when it comes to trying to say this accurately. I think that it's safety. I think polar opposites on
maybe it's risk.
Risk.
Let's say
that.
risk, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've gone for a lot of the same roles. We've done a couple of films together, and where we were both doing sort of stunts on the films. And our director would ask us to do something, and I'd be like, I don't think that we can achieve that safely in this situation. And I'm like explaining that to him, and while I'm explaining it to him, my buddy Josh is running, and like, if it's a shot, he's in the background, he runs and he flips and lands on his back in the desert on like rocks, and I'm like, I'm trying to explain that this is not a safe thing, and then he just goes and does it, and the director goes, sounds like you just don't want to do it, and I'm like, here's the deal. And
it's such madness, man.
Yeah. And Josh is just fearless. Like I
Sure.
have to give him that much. And he does some incredible things. And because of his fearlessness, he's achieved some really awesome things stunt-wise.
Yeah.
He's incredibly strong, flexible, coordinated. He's great.
Great.
He dives into things quite literally. And he's once he injured himself.
Okay.
Quite badly doing a fall, and I don't remember if the company hadn't prepared the fall correctly, or if he did something wrong. I forget. But it's just like when that happened, I was just like, my heart just like broke for him, and because it seemed like his career might be over with that thing.
Mm.
But then a testament to just how resilient he is to it. He overcame this injury, and he's right back at it.
Right on.
And I whenever I see him, I'm so happy to see him, and I just pray for him all the time.
Well, it's the balance of it, right? And again,
Mhm.
it's the threshold risk that everybody has for themselves, which is like,
Yes.
that's an interesting thing that can happen. It's just like, come on, man, like everybody's doing like, and it is right. Like it's a fine balance between, we're speaking a little bit about stunts, but I think that this ports over into so many different things, which is like, I guess I even bring this back to that internship idea that I brought up earlier, right? Which is, hey man, some people are completely willing to do that because they're willing to go, hey man, no worries. Like if I go and do this, like we're good. Like I'm going to go do this. And if I get hurt, okay, that's fine. And then there's other people going, well, hold on a second, man. I think I know what my abilities and where I'm at right now. Now that's not to say that sometimes we don't get pushed out of our comfort zone, right? Like I think that there's something to be said about that, but boy, trying to make those decisions like spot on, I think sometimes you really have to sometimes you really got to listen to that gut instinct that God's put inside of us of like kind of going, it's the difference between, listen, I've done stunt driving on shows, right? Where you kind of go, we need you to be a driver. Can you be a driver? Yeah, I can do that. Just show me what to, and like, I've done it. Like, I've done that stuff. And I go, all right, I know how to drive a car. I'm going to follow this guy. I'm going to listen to what the stunt guys are saying on this thing while I'm doing it. Yes, I can totally do that. Let's go for it. Right. As opposed to the other thing of just like, come on, man, do it. It's like kind of going, hold on, man. Everybody's like jumping off this cliff into their death, and everybody's just kind of going along with it. It's like, I'm going to die if I do that. Right.
Yes.
So anyway.
Yeah. With the ice skating training, that makes me think of the journey I've been on with that. My wife is my coach because she's a professional. She's incredible, so well trained. She does amazing things on the ice that they still blow my mind. Even after having worked with several, dozens of professionals now on that, they're amazing. And so I'm just now learning to do jumps on the ice, which still looking at it, I'm like, like watching myself do it. I'm like, how did I do that? And so my trick to do it, because if I fall on the ice and I bash up my knee the wrong way, it could put me out of my training for several months. And it's like I'm not necessarily going to just bounce back like I used to. Like I'm talking like I'm so old, but it's funny how I can actually feel my age for the first time in my life. I'm 29. And just in the last year or so, I've started to actually feel my age, and it just wasn't a thought before that. And I was just cautious for the sake of being cautious, I guess, before, but now I'm thankful that I'm cautious. And so I started wearing hockey pads. So I wear just knee pads and hip pads, and then I just go, and then I can not worry so much because I know how to fall to not hurt my upper body.
Right.
On the ice, it's just so hard not to hit those toe spikes
Yeah.
on the blades, and then you just face plant. And my reactions aren't quick enough to save my knees when that happens, but the rest of me, I can fall right.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
Listen, man, it's thinking about like it's thinking about like long term. Like honestly, like these things are, because we can stretch ourselves and push ourselves in the moment, but we also have to think about like the extra stuff that's going on there. For example, like there is a certain window that happens with certain physicality of stuff, right? Where you kind of go, yeah, you know what? I've got this window that's right here. It's like professional athletes, right? It's like where you kind of go, I've definitely got this window that's here, but I got to make sure that I'm figuring this out long term. Listen, man, this is a thing that I discovered for myself when I was, performing at a theme park. It's like I had a window. Like that's it. Like I can get as, like the window is like, here's the deal. It's an environment that tends to appeal to families, younger people, and kids that come in. So there's going to be a tendency of, you know, younger performers or all that stuff. And, at some point you finally shift out of that stuff. I remember having a conversation with somebody once at Disney who worked with the parade stuff. And it was very telling, right? It was one of those things where you go, yeah, that can happen. You can get caught in this fog where he was a guy that was he was in charge and managing, a lot of these parade kids. A lot of these parade kids that are there, they're like 18 through 23, right? Like that's the deal. And you're seeing them rotate all the time. And he told me something. He said, I was so used to hanging out with 18 to 24-year-olds. And he said, one day I woke up and I went, oh, I'm 45. Like and I'm still thinking like I'm still in the same range as these kids, like 18 to 23. And then you just go, oh no, like I'm in a completely different scenario. So I know for myself, it was, I had some jarring things, but that had happened for me, uncomfortable things had happened where I was like cornered by extended family members. What are you doing with your life? Which was very frustrating.
Fun. Isn't it nice to hear from home?
Very fun. Call back. He did a call back. Yeah. But there was some hard truth in it, which was like me kind of going, hey, yeah, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to do long term? Listen, this was the thing that happened for me with commercials. Like I was doing television commercials on a regular basis. I had some relatively good success that happened from like, I don't know, I'd say like 98, 99 through about I don't know, maybe even as late as 2000. I was doing stuff even in 2016. But what had happened was that there was a shift that was going on. There was a shift that was going on in the market. There was a shift that was going on with the type of stuff that was being out there. And there was also, there was like the reality of what this was. If you're a guy that's in your 20s and you're going out for beer commercials and all that stuff, and that's great, right? And the money was really good like 15, 20 years ago, but the market shifted where it's like the amount of money that was being put into national TV campaigns or whatever, it's just not there, right? And then all of a sudden you start seeing the market shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. I was invited on somebody invited me onto a Facebook group, and it was about, I'm out. I'm sure somebody's going to see this and go, that traitor. How dare he? But I don't care because I didn't ask to be a part of the group. Somebody just invited me. The group was basically actors in the dad category for commercials. That's really what it
Hmm.
was. So there
Okay.
was a lot of like, there was a lot of professional guys who were on this. I went, oh yeah, I see that guy at auditions, that guy at auditions. And there was a subset of this group for a while. I don't think most of them are on there, but there was a subset of this group that was on there and complaining about, I don't understand why there's not the type of, work and the type of stuff that's out there,
Yeah.
that we used to have, and, old guys complaining on the porch. And what you want to say is, you go, the market's shifted, dude. Like the
Yeah.
market has shifted. Like it's not there anymore. There's not a thing where you get to do like a 5-second spot on a commercial and all of a sudden you're rolling in, tens of thousands of dollars, right? Or getting these residual payments. It doesn't exist. So you have to learn to adapt and change. And I don't know. That was a thing for me. I finally got to a point where it was like the industry was changing so much where it was very rare that I was getting calls for commercials. And when I was usually showing up for these things, and it was basically like, hey, we need you as a desk sports reporter, but the main focus of this commercial is going to be a major athlete who's going to be selling the Gatorade or whatever. And you look at the script, and the script is totally focused on the athlete who's going to be doing this thing.
Yeah.
And me and the other people, we're basically going to be extras in the commercial. And more than likely, we're not going to have a speaking role. And more than likely, we're probably going to get cut out of the spot, right? But you're
Yeah.
still going into these auditions and they want to make sure that they're getting quality people. Okay, we really need you to read this copy. And they're putting you through this gamut of stuff. And you're looking at the things and you're going, I didn't get into this to do this. Like
Yeah.
I didn't get into this business just so that and this isn't a pride thing, but it's like, I don't feel like I'm using my skills and my abilities here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
feel like I'm using them. Like, that's great. I could show up here and show up for cash for the day, but ah, you
Yeah.
know, I kind of had a little bit of that. So
Yeah.
anyway, I just say
Sometimes.
all that to just know, like, there's these windows of times that we have for ourselves and to just be like aware and to be constantly praying and just like asking God, like, hey, God, what's going on here for
Yeah.
me? Like, what's going on? And talking to other people about it too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Doing some background work sometimes. I have to have the right attitude because it's so much hurry up and wait,
Mhm.
Um, and I've gone for background work days where you literally, you show up, you sign in, and right now you do this whole intensive testing, process to make sure that you're safe to be on set. And then you get on set and you're still wearing a mask, and it's like, okay. And then you literally sit around on set for 12 hours,
Yep.
and it's just like, oh, and they don't use you, and you're
Yeah.
like, and so like I've started, like I've tried to use that time and be productive, and so I'll go on my websites and I apply for all the jobs, and
Yeah.
then, all right, I'm done with that. All right, let's pull up the Hebrew app, let's learn Hebrew, let's try to be productive, and then work on my boxing and work on my kicks, and and then I look like a crazy person, but I'm memorable. That's
Yes, you are.
maybe bonus.
That
Yeah.
is. It absolutely is. But it's about
um
trying to be productive, right? Like
yeah,
that background stuff can be so
because
frustrating.
it'll just kill you if you don't do anything. If you just sit there and literally just wait, it's like you want to be ready to go, but like you got to do something with your brain. And there's some people who will just sit there and complain and complain and
Yes.
complain.
Oh my
And I'm like,
gosh.
hey, look, I'm right there with you. Like you're not the only one feeling this way, but you got to do something with it.
I remember my first day, man. I did some extra work for a little while. I remember my first day I showed up on a show. I was like so excited. I was dressed in. I remember this one lady, she walked in. She walked in. She was one of like their head extras. And she
Oh yeah.
walked in, just smiles as ever. She said, I hate this business. I just hate this. I don't even know why. Like just like this vile, like just like this
Oh no.
hateful stuff that was just dripping out while she had this just painful smile on her face. And I
Yeah.
thought, leave, leave. don't do this. Like it's obviously killing you, right? Like there's something that's going on inside of you. And of course, the thing that I always hear is like, well, if I don't do this, I won't earn my insurance money or whatever that stuff is. And just go, get out, figure something else out, man.
Other ways that you can get your insurance
Please,
money.
please work at Costco. Like I think you'll be happier working at Costco or Trader Joe's. Like just do something where like you're engaging or doing stuff and just be active. And if this is killing you, if like this, just go, get out, please, please. So I get that, man. I get that. All right. Here's what we're going to do. 2 things before we leave.
Cool. Yeah.
Let's get Patrick nervous. Here's okay. I'll come to a second. Now, here's the deal, buddy. Your book's still on the line. Your book's still on the line. Here's all I'm going to ask you to do. Just a couple of things. Number 1, I'm going to throw out some suggestions of some stuff that you can do by the next time that we meet. Don't worry, I'm not off the hook on any of this. I'll get to that in a second. Number 1.
Yeah.
Buddy boy, you've talked about how the fact that you reach out to these focus on the family people. I would suggest, hey, figure out to compose a thing of like going, is there any way that, and try to make it not sound like you're begging, but trying to just reach out to them again and say, hey, as a matter of fact, I am just right down the street. I'm a stone's throw away. And is there any way that I could be of service to you guys? Is there any way that I could do a little bit of intern stuff? Now, I'm also going to give a caveat on this. Please double check with your wife on this and to talk about like, hey, if I were to do a thing of like interning, what do you think might be a good amount of time a reasonable amount of time that I could do this? And then figure out what those, I'm not going to ask you to clarify all of this stuff, but I do want you to double check in with your wife and then make like a set amount of time that you would do it for like maybe a month or something like that. Or for a couple, you know what I mean? Like this wouldn't be an open-ended thing, but just a thought. So it could be just as an example to talk to your wife and to say, hey, what would happen if I were to offer up like 4 hours a week for a month? Would that be okay? Right. Double check with her. And then, and listen, I'm going to tell you straight up, they're probably going to say, no, we're good. Thanks. Whatever. But it's not going to hurt to try. So I would just say, because you've had this initial contact with them, and you could also point them back to some of your Instagram examples or other stuff that you've been doing. I'm just saying, be bold. Okay.
I like it.
So that's one suggestion that I would make.
Reach out to focus on the family.
There's my dog in the background. Here's the other thing. What's something else that you think is possible that you could do that could move the needle forward? I know that you're saying that you're on Upwork and experimenting with Fiverr. I'm wondering if it has something to do with, I would, and again, this is me, man. I would love to see that you're actually like getting a gig, even if it was like a gig that was there. Now we can't control whether or not you get a gig,
right? But
we can control, maybe the amount of times or projects that you're submitting to, just by looking at something on Upwork. And again, this is a ballpark, and I'm flexible with this goal. Like when you were, how many things did you submit for before on like Upwork?
On Upwork?
Yeah.
I only submitted for a few.
Bless you.
He blessed you too.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I only submitted for a few because that podcast one took up so much time submitting for.
Of course.
And so you know what? As I'm saying it, I'm thinking I need to push past that.
Here's what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to suggest this. Can you, because I get it when and for people that are listening to this, when you're submitting for Upwork, and I don't know how it works with some of the voiceover stuff, sometimes you are submitting like a proposal. They also may want to ask you to read something that you're also, so it's that. I'm going to throw out something here and you tell me what you think. Do you think it would be possible by the next time that we meet in a couple of weeks, God willing, everything works out, that you could at least submit to at least 5 more jobs?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. What if
Do
yeah,
you
go
want to
ahead.
meet? Do you want to meet in 2 weeks or in 1 week?
I'd like to meet in 2 weeks.
Cool. Perfect. Yeah, then
I'll tell you why in
definitely.
just a moment.
Okay.
Well, so wait a second. If you say you can do 5, what if I ask you to do 7?
I probably can.
How about if I ask you, I'll tell you what, I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to ask you to do 6 of them.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
Yeah.
So Patrick, here's my challenge to you. Here's my challenge to you. I need you to do that follow-up email. I want you to have the conversation here with your wife on the side and talk about like what would be feasible if you were to do an internship with that Adventure and Odyssey people. And let's get very specific, like to find out if it's those people, right? Because you want to be connecting with this focus on the family or the Christian organizations, right? Like to go, I'd be happy to intern for you, right? Like interning for you into helping your crew. Because I think that's a good direction. So to have that conversation with your wife, send out that email. Okay. And we'll see what happens. But I would also point them towards some of your examples. That's all I'm saying. Or maybe possibly your Upwork profile to just say, hey, here's some examples of stuff that I do. I'm just saying. And then by the time that we meet next week, that you'll have submitted to at least 6 more Upwork jobs to find them. I get it. And I don't care, buddy. They have to be something that has money that's associated with it. Yeah. I don't think that there's a lot of freebie things on Upwork or whatever, but at least 6 of those, at least 6 jobs that you've submitted to. Okay.
I like it. Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't complete that, I'm afraid that you're going to have to put your book into the mail and you have to send it to me. So.
Yep. Okay. All
sorry,
right,
buddy.
So here's the thing. I'm going to be completely honest with you. The book might be done very shortly.
Okay, buddy. Now listen, what's the follow-up to that? What's the
I don't know. We got to find another thing.
You're a rat. You're a rat right now. All right.
There's a reason I love this book and why the closer I get to the end, the more valuable it is. But then it's going to go that much faster.
You're a rat. I need to figure out something else. All right. We'll figure out something else. By next week, by the next time that we meet again, you're gonna have to figure out something else that's pretty valuable.
I'll ship you my box of Keurig cups for my coffee maker.
That's nonsense.
Joke. Look how excited I am about it, though.
Something. What a liar. His nose hits the screen.
No, I'll try and find something else that will sufficiently light a fire under my butt, though.
Something that you like. Something that you really dig. And it's not your wife.
China.
Not your wife.
She's not going, me. Stop it.
Not your wife. Sorry, China. All right. So that's that. So that's one thing. Now, here's the other side of this, which I get to wrap up this call on. I get held accountable too. The last time that we met, I had told Patrick I was going to put out my first stuff for my local stuff. If I hadn't done it, that I was going to owe him $50. I do not
I'm so excited to be rich.
I do not owe you $50. I do not owe you $50 because I actually have it right now. Here you go. Here's the commercial part that I get to do. If you were watching this, and it actually ties in with the stuff that we were talking about today. Here we were talking today about, how do I decide to do stuff or when I'm moving forward or when's the right time to make stuff. I created this document for myself a couple of years ago that was about parameters that I start using for working on a project. Well, I have another social media group that I'm part of, which is over on locals.com. Let me see if I can do this right. Let's see. Can I do this right? There it is. Can you see that? Yes, there it is. All right. This is called Parameters for Working on a Project. This is a new video series that I have that's available. It's only available exclusively on kevingregg.locals.com. So you have to head over to locals.com and sign up. It's absolutely free to get over there. And then you can join my community, which is at kevingregg.locals.com. I have the first video series that's up right now that talks about the first thing I do is I'm working on the parameters for working on a project. I'm going to be putting out a series of these. The rest of the series is going to be available just for supporters over at kevingregg.locals.com. But the first one is up and available to anybody that just comes over there for free. So go over there and check that out. Parameters for working on a project at kevingregg.locals.com. Now,
Love it.
with that said, Patrick, because now I've started the ball rolling, by the time that I meet you next time in 2 weeks from now, that means I've got to have 2 more of these videos under my belt available for my supporters. So you think you're on the hook, buddy? I'm on the hook. I've got to produce 2 full videos, 2 more videos in this series, or else you're going to be $50 richer, my friend.
Yes, and you're not going to finish reading that $50 before next week, right? Just, I want to make sure.
So let's get something straight. I don't know if you understand how currency works. I do want to do a whole side thing on cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, but that's a whole other thing, which I'm very into it.
So maybe that could be my thing. I could invest in some cryptocurrency, and then if I don't do my work, I have to pass over the shares to you.
I am not going to steal your money that way. I want something of value, because when I'm stealing from you, I'm stealing from China. So that's the problem, right?
That's
so
fair. Yeah.
I don't want to steal from your wife. So, all right. So that's what I got. So 2 weeks from now, buddy, you've got your stuff. I've got my stuff. So there you go. A pleasure to be here with you. So
same.
Love you dearly. This has been awesome. It's been so great getting to like know you deeper with these calls, right? It's been such a huge blessing. Same. So there you go. Tell people where they can find some examples of your work on Instagram.
So my Instagram is Rick Quinn. That's RIKKWIN. My picture right now.
Yeah, see if you can do it. There it is. There
we go.
Look at that. Very sweet. And back it up a little bit so they can see how you spell that Rick Quinn again.
Oh yeah, Rick Quinn.
RIKKWIN. Nope, it's good for me on my side.
Perfect.
Rick Quinn.
Yeah. So I've got 7 of those voices up there now. Great. And I'm gonna keep cranking them out.
So check that out. Follow him. Let people know. That's what we got for this week, everybody. Patrick, thank you for being on the show. Thanks, everybody, for following. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. And also, I might as well just do the commercial one more time. Remember, you can go over to my community right now at kevingregg.locals.com. That's a great place to be in contact with me for social media posting that I do. And if you go over there right now, you get to see another video series that is only exclusively on Locals. You get to see the first one for free. So head over there right now. All right.
Love it.
That's all I got. Patrick, love you, buddy. I will see you in a couple of weeks. You figure out what that next valuable thing is.
Okay, will do. And in the meantime, I'm going to take advice from your wall. I'm going to go play outside.
I like it, buddy. All right, guys. God bless everybody, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
See you.
Bye, gang.